What if the one force behind every choice you make, every woman you chase, every ambition that keeps you awake at night, isn't what you think it is? Desire. It's not just a spark in your gut. It's not a fleeting urge. It's the hidden engine of your existence. For men, it's the pulse that drives you to dominate a boardroom in Manhattan, to lock eyes with a woman across a crowded bar in Chicago, to stare into the void of your own life and demand something more. Carl Jung, the titan of analytical psychology, didn't see desire as mere biology or lust. He saw it as a primal code, a language of your unconscious that shapes who you are, how you connect, and what you become. Ignore it, and it festers into chaos, broken relationships, a life stuck in neutral. Master it, and it becomes your greatest weapon, a force for clarity, creation, and unshakable strength. This isn't about cliches or quick fixes. It's about decoding the deepest parts of yourself to live with purpose and power. Ready to face the truth? Let's dive into the shadow of your soul. For American men guys grinding in their 30s, navigating a world of Tinder swipes, corporate ladders, and endless noise desire isn't just personal, it's cultural. You're bombarded with messages. Hustle harder, look better, win at all costs. But beneath the noise, there's a deeper truth. Jung uncovered a truth that can set you free if you're willing to do the work. This journey starts with understanding that desire isn't your enemy, it's your guide. Let's break it down, step by step, to see how it shapes you and how you can shape it back. Decoding the language of desire. To understand your deepest urges. To master desire, you need to start by listening to the part of you that's always talking but rarely heard. Your unconscious. Jung saw desire not as a random impulse, but as a symbolic language, a code your psyche uses to reveal what you need, what you fear, what you've buried. Picture this. You're at a rooftop bar in Los Angeles. A woman's smile hits you like a shot of bourbon. Your heart skips. Your mind's already spinning stories about her. Or maybe it's 2 a.m. and you're scribbling a business idea on a napkin in your Denver apartment, consumed by a vision. That's not just chemistry or ambition, it's your unconscious waving a flag saying, pay attention. There's something here you need to see. For men in their 20s and 30s, grinding through the chaos of modern life, dating apps, career pressures, the constant comparison game on Instagram, this language can feel like static. You swipe right, you chase a promotion, you hit the gym, thinking you're in control. But Jung's insight is a gut punch. Desire isn't just about what you want on the surface. It's about what your soul is screaming for. That woman you can't stop thinking about. She's not just a person. She's a mirror, reflecting parts of yourself you've ignored: your need for connection, your buried creativity, that relentless drive to prove yourself at work. It's not just about success. It's about filling a void you haven't named. Decoding this language means asking hard questions. What's driving me? What am I really after? When you start listening, you stop being a passenger in your own life. You take the wheel. Jung called this energy libido. Don't confuse it with Freud's narrow focus on sex. For Jung, libido is the life force itself, raw, dynamic, untamed. It's the spark behind your ambition to close a deal in a Manhattan high-rise. It's the hunger to connect with someone who sees the real you. It's the quiet ache when you're alone with your thoughts in a Seattle coffee shop. This energy doesn't just sit there. It moves, it shifts. Ignore it, and it morphs into patterns you don't control: addictions to porn, late-night whiskey, or that nagging sense you're not living up to your potential. But when you learn to decode it, desire becomes a map to your deepest truths. It's the first step to reclaiming your power. The Animus spell, why you fall hard, and what it reveals. Now let's talk about why you fall so hard for someone, sometimes without even knowing why. The Animus spell. Jung argued that every man carries an inner feminine, a force of intuition, emotion, and depth called the Anima. It's not about being soft or weak. It's about the parts of you that feel deeply, dream vividly, connect beyond logic. The Anima is why you lose your mind over a woman who doesn't even make sense on paper. Picture this. You're at a bar in Austin. Your eyes lock with a woman who radiates something you can't explain. Your heart's racing. Your mind spinning stories about how she's the one. That's your anima at work, projecting your inner desires onto her, turning her into a mirror for the parts of yourself you've buried. Maybe your creativity, your vulnerability, your need to feel alive. Jung's insight is a wake-up call. Falling in love is often an encounter with your own soul. You're not in love with her. You're in love with a projection of yourself. For American men, this hits hard. You're taught to be stoic, to keep your emotions in check, to man up. So the anima gets shoved into the shadows, only to erupt in ways you don't expect through infatuation, jealousy, that desperate need for validation. You meet a woman in Miami, and suddenly she's the muse, the goddess, the answer to a question you didn't know you were asking. But when the projection fades, when she doesn't live up to that impossible image, disappointment hits like a freight train. The fix isn't to shut it down, it's to integrate it. To understand your anima is to own your emotions, your intuition, your depth. When you do, you stop needing a woman to complete you. You start seeing her as a person, not a projection. That's where real connection begins. Facing your shadow, confronting the parts you hide. Now it's time to face your shadow, confronting the parts of yourself you've locked away because they're too raw, too messy, too weak. Society tells you to be the alpha, the provider, the guy who never flinches. So you bury the neediness, the doubt, the hunger for connection. But Jung knew the shadow doesn't stay buried. It leaks out. It's in the way you snap at your girlfriend when you feel exposed in a quiet moment at home. It's the late-night scroll through porn when you're avoiding what's eating you. It's the extra drink at a Chicago club when you're trying to drown out the shame of wanting something so bad it scares you. For men today, the shadow is a battlefield. You're caught between two lies. One says sex is everything, swipe, hook up, repeat. The other says wanting too much makes you less of a man. The first lie turns desire into a commodity, a quick hit to chase. The second buries it under guilt, leaving you disconnected from your own fire. Jung's answer wasn't to pick a side. It was to face the shadow head-on, to confront the parts you hide. You need to ask, what am I afraid to feel? What am I running from? That urge to check out, to numb out, to chase a fleeting high. It's not random. It's your shadow talking, begging you to listen. Imagine a guy in his late 20s, stuck in a cycle of dead-end hookups and a job in Seattle that feels like a trap. He's restless, he's angry, but he doesn't know why. That's his shadow, screaming for attention. Jung's challenge is clear. Don't run from it. Dive into it. Write down what you're feeling when the urge hits. Grab a notebook, not just your phone. Talk to a friend who won't just nod and change the subject. The shadow isn't your enemy. It's a portal to your strength. Face it, and you start to take back control. The hero's call. Becoming the master of your desire. This brings us to the hero's call, becoming the master of your desire. Jung's hero isn't the guy racking up conquests or flexing his status on Instagram. He's the one who dares to ask, why do I want this? What's this hunger really about? This isn't soft introspection. It's the ultimate act of strength. It's standing in the fire of your own chaos and coming out sharper, clearer, whole. Every man faces a moment, maybe in his 30s, maybe later, where he hits a wall. The job's not enough. The relationships feel hollow. The grind in a city like Dallas or Atlanta is wearing you down. That's your psyche, calling you to the hero's journey. Desire is the map, pointing to the wounds you've ignored, the strengths you've forgotten, the parts of yourself you've locked away. For a guy in New York, this might mean stepping back from the hustle to ask hard questions. Why do you keep chasing women who leave you empty? Why does every win at work feel like it's not enough? The hero's journey isn't about killing desire, it's about harnessing it. It's about turning that raw energy into fuel for something bigger. A business that reflects your values. A purpose that wakes you up. A life that feels like yours. This is where you stop being a slave to your impulses and start being their master. The hero doesn't run from his urges. He listens, he learns, he leads. The alchemy of desire, turning impulse into creative power. Now let's talk about the alchemy of desire turning impulse into creative power. Jung saw sexuality not as a base instinct, but as a sacred act, a bridge between your body and your soul. Ancient cultures understood this. They treated sex as a ritual, a way to touch the divine. Think of the temples of ancient Greece or the tantric practices of India, where physical union was a path to spiritual awakening. Today, we've cheapened it into a transaction. Swipe right, hook up, move on. But you can reclaim its power, not by chasing every impulse, but by channeling that energy into something that lasts. Picture a guy in his 40s, successful on paper, but restless inside. He's got the car, the condo in Miami, the corner office, but there's a void he can't name. Jung would say that void is where desire lives, not just for sex, but for meaning. When you integrate your anima and face your shadow, you stop looking outside for the answer. That woman, that promotion, that perfect moment, they're not the solution. They're mirrors. The real work is inside, turning desire into creative fire. Maybe it's launching a side hustle that lights you up, like a podcast that speaks your truth. Maybe it's writing the novel you've been putting off since college. Maybe it's showing up for your partner with real presence, not just going through the motions. When you channel desire, it stops being a chain. It becomes a catalyst. It's the difference between a guy who's dragged through life by his urges and a man who uses them to build something real. The sacred union redefining relationships with clarity. This transformation changes how you connect with others, the sacred union. When you stop projecting your anima onto every woman you meet, you stop demanding they save you. You see them as they are real, flawed, human. That's when real relationships begin. Not the fairy tale kind that crash when the projection fades, but the kind built on two people who've done their inner work. Jung called this the conjunctio, the sacred union of opposites, within yourself and with another. For men, this means owning both your strength and your softness. It's the courage to lead when it's needed, planning a date, setting boundaries, taking charge. It's the humility to listen when it's not, like hearing her out without trying to fix everything. When you do this, sex stops being a conquest or a release. It becomes a communion, a moment where you and another person touch something bigger than yourselves. Imagine a date in Denver. You're not performing, you're not chasing, you're just present. That's the power of integration. This shift ripples outward. You stop seeing women as solutions to your problems or trophies to collect. You start seeing them as partners, equals, people with their own journeys. This doesn't just change your love life. It changes how you show up in the world. You become the guy who listens at work, who leads without ego, who connects without needing to control. That's the sacred union Jung was talking about, not just with another person, but with yourself. Escaping the cultural trap, breaking free from society's lies. Let's get real about the world you're navigating, escaping the cultural trap. As an American man, you're caught in a cultural vice. On one side, you're sold an image of masculinity that's all about domination. Get the girl, get the money, get the power. Think of the ads, the influencers, the endless stream of alpha male content, telling you to grind harder, look better, win at all costs. On the other, you're told to suppress your desires, to be good, to play it safe. Maybe it's the voice of a parent, a pastor, a society that says wanting too much is selfish or weak. Both are traps. The first turns you into a machine, chasing metrics of success that leave you empty. The second cuts you off from your own fire, leaving you numb. Jung's insight is a lifeline. Desire isn't the problem, it's how you engage with it. The culture of Tinder, hustle porn, and instant gratification wants you to stay shallow. Keep swiping, keep chasing. But the man who pauses, who asks, "What do I really want?" steps out of the trap. He stops being a consumer of desire and becomes its master. This isn't about rejecting the world. It's about navigating it with clarity. You can still date, you can still grind, you can still want, But you do it on your terms, not the culture's. You stop letting algorithms or influencers dictate your worth. You decide what matters. Balancing the inner forces, integrating your feminine and masculine. Jung's genius was seeing that every man carries both masculine and feminine energies, and balance is the key to wholeness, balancing the inner forces. The anima, your inner feminine, is your connection to emotion, intuition, creativity. It's the part of you that feels alive when you're lost in a song, a story, a moment of raw connection. The animus, in its broader sense, is your drive, your logic, your ability to act. It's the part that gets you out of bed, to hit the gym or close a deal. When these are out of whack, you're off balance. Maybe you're all action, crushing it at work but emotionally distant, like the guy who's always fine but never opens up. Or maybe you're stuck in your feelings, paralyzed by doubt or longing, like the guy who can't stop obsessing over a woman who's moved on. For a guy in his 30s, this imbalance shows up everywhere. You might lean hard into the alpha stereotype, shutting down vulnerability until it explodes in a fight or a breakup. Or you might over-romanticize a woman, turning her into a savior who'll fix your life. Jung's call is to integrate these forces. Embrace your anima, feel deeply, dream vividly, connect authentically. But don't lose your animus. Stay grounded, take action, hold your frame. When these energies work together, you're not just a man, you're a force. You walk into a room in San Francisco or Boston, and people feel it not because you're loud, but because you're whole. The erotic hero redefining strength through self-mastery. This brings us to the erotic hero redefining strength through self-mastery. Jung's hero isn't the guy who racks up notches or flaunts his status on social media. He's the one who dives into his own chaos, his desires, his fears, his contradictions, and emerges with clarity. This isn't about denying what you want. It's about understanding it. The erotic hero listens to his impulses, not to obey them blindly, but to decode them. He knows that behind every craving is a clue to his soul. Imagine a guy in his late 20s, burned out from chasing the wrong things, women who don't stay, goals that don't satisfy. He hits a breaking point, maybe after a bad breakup or a dead-end job in a city like Phoenix. That's the call to adventure. The erotic hero answers it by facing the hard questions. What am I really after? What's driving this hunger? He doesn't run to the next distraction, a new app, a new bar, a new hustle. He sits with it. He journals. He talks to a mentor who's been there. He starts to see the patterns, how his need for validation keeps him stuck, how his fear of vulnerability keeps him alone. And in that moment, he starts to become free. This is what sets the erotic hero apart. He's not afraid to feel the fire of desire, but he doesn't let it burn him down. He channels it into his work, his relationships, his purpose. He's the guy who starts a business that matters to him, not just for the money. He's the guy who loves a woman without needing her to save him. He's the guy who looks in the mirror and sees a man, not a collection of insecurities. That's strength, redefined. Living the sacred fire, channeling desire into purpose. So where do you go from here? Living the sacred fire, channeling desire into purpose. Jung saw desire as a bridge between your instincts and your higher self. A way to connect the raw energy of your body to the deeper wisdom of your soul. This isn't about spiritualizing everything or denying your physical needs. It's about living with both fully, consciously, powerfully. In ancient cultures, from the temples of Egypt to the rituals of the East, sex was sacred, a way to touch the divine. Today, we've lost that vision, reducing it to a performance or a quick fix. But you can reclaim it. You can live it. Start small. Next time you feel that pull toward a woman, a goal, a fleeting high pause, ask yourself, what's this really about? Write it down in a notebook, not just on your phone. Get real with a friend who can handle the truth, not the bro who'll just slap you on the back and tell you to go for it. Look at your patterns. That woman you keep chasing, who's perfect until she's not. She's your anima talking. That habit, you can't kick late night drinks, endless scrolling, whatever it is, That's your shadow begging for attention. The man who faces these truths doesn't just live. He creates. He builds. He loves with clarity and strength. This is the path of individuation becoming whole, not by erasing desire, but by harnessing it. It's the difference between a guy who's dragged through life by his urges and a man who uses them to build a life of meaning. You don't need to kill desire or cage it. You need to understand it, channel it, let it fuel your work, your relationships, your purpose. The man who masters his desire isn't just strong. He's free. This isn't just a story, it's a wake-up call. If this hits you, don't just sit there. Share it with a brother who needs to hear it. A guy who's stuck, chasing the wrong things, or feeling that void he can't name. Hit that like button to spread this truth to more men who are ready to step up. Subscribe for more content that cuts through the noise and gives you the tools to live with purpose. Comment below. What's one pattern you're ready to face in your own life? Let's start this journey together. Your move.